Find yourself coming to a comfortable place to sit and just observe the body as you start to come into this space. Whatever your space is, right? The immediate space around you, your yoga mat. If you have a prop, just getting settled into that. You might observe in this opening, the body wanting to move, fidget, or some deep breaths to want to just move through your body, and allow all of that to happen here. Simply feeling, noticing, getting a sense of how you are feeling in this moment. And then together we'll take 3 deep breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's sit up nice and tall. And sigh it all the way out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time together. And then taking the next 10 breaths just for yourself. Becoming a little quieter. Dropping attention into your own space. About 5 more breaths here. No right or wrong, just observing, just allowing. Emphasis into the way that we breathe here by bringing one hand onto the belly and the other hand onto the low back. And in this position, you might draw your shoulders back gently, just inviting a broadness across your chest. With the position of the hands, it might even encourage you to find a little taller posture, a little more integrity through the spine. We don't want to be stiff or rigid, so there's a balance to be found here of integrity and softness. And then we'll take a few more breaths, breathing into the space behind the hands. And with awareness on both the front and the back of the body, you can feel, or at least do your best to bring a breath into both hands, expanding forward and backwards. Drawing that breath deep down into your belly. The inhale expands that space. The exhale simply lets go, and that space gets a little smaller. Keep that awareness with the belly breathing. We still want the breath to originate in the belly. And now we'll bring our hands around the ribs. So both hands around the front. Breathe down into the belly and notice that space under your hands filling up as you allow the breath to rise a little higher up into the ribs, into the lungs. Again, no force, so you'll find your own edge. Sometimes when it does feel tight, you might find a way in your posture to create a little more space. That applies not only in the seat, but in every pose that we take on our mats and off. And finally, now to bring awareness to those upper lungs, we're going to tuck the hands under the armpits. And the thumbs can kind of rest in that crease. Breathing into the low belly, the ribs, and just a little into the high lungs here. You might start to notice the collarbones receiving that breath. The upper back, even the neck might receive a gentle stretch from that breath. I like to feel that stretch as nourishment or receiving a sort of spaciousness. Remember, starts in the belly, so don't lose those first two parts. Belly, ribs, then chest. Great, let's release the hands down to the sides of the body and we'll start to move with our breath. The arms are going to imitate what that breath was doing, rising from the bottom up. So as you inhale, belly, ribs, arms start to rise all the way up at the top. Exhale and release back down, chest, ribs, belly. And we'll do a few rounds of this to help synchronize that breath and movement, inhaling up and exhaling down. You might close your eyes or soften your gaze, breathing in and up. Maybe the chin lifts. And exhale, chin comes back to center. 2 more times on your own. We'll take another inhale, bringing the arms overhead. This time as you exhale, draw the palms together down in front of the heart, Anjali Mudra. The elbows point out wide, the thumbs rest on the sternum. Take a humble bow through your chin, and if you'd like to set a special intention for this practice or dedicate this practice to someone or to something, just take a moment to put an energy behind this practice, a purposeful energy. It might take softening a bit to hear that whisper, trusting whatever comes up. If nothing seems to come up, I always recommend landing on gratitude. It's a beautiful energy that has a transformational power. It's way beyond what we can comprehend. Or simply opening the question of, what is it that I need to know today? What is it that I need today? What's here for me today? Whatever that is, a question, an intention, a dedication, will release all expectation of the way that that reveals itself, just allowing that energy to guide us in whatever way it needs to today with complete and total trust. So as you take your next inhale, release those expectations, release your arms up to the sky, breathe in. Exhale, release, hands on, come all the way down to the ground in front of you. And take a walk forward with the hands, bowing over your shins. Relax the head, relax the chin. You can fold as far as what feels comfortable for you here. For some of you, you might be lying flat on your elbows or forearms. Head might even come to the ground. Or you might be propped up on the hands and simply folding inwards. Doesn't matter how far you go, the invitation is to breathe into your back body. And we'll walk our hands over to the right side of the body. The right hand will stay down and the left arm will peel open to the sky. Breathe in and up. And then as you exhale, reach over to the side. Try to keep your sits bones grounded here. And we'll take a few breaths to fan open the ribs, to stretch open through the side of the body. Your gaze can be wherever it's comfortable. You might even play around with the gaze and see what kind of neck movement feels good to you today. Bring the left hand down to the mat, folding over that right knee, and then walk around through center all the way over to the left side. Left hand stays on the mat. Inhale, right arm peels all the way up to the sky. Reach up, up, up. Exhale, reach over. Breathing here. You might peel open that right shoulder a little bit. You might need to soften the left shoulder away from the ears. Notice what's here for you in this moment as you breathe. No fighting, no forcing, just exploring the body through this movement and breath. Bow that right hand down so you're folded over the left knee. Walk around through the center. Pause in the middle, taking one more stretch right down the middle. Bow the head. And then walk the hands back to the shins and bring the soles of the feet together into a butterfly pose or cobbler pose. Hands on the ankles and start to bat the knees up and down. Starting with a little mobility. Feel the shoulders opening, the head lifting right over the heart. Take a breath in. On the exhale, press the knees down towards the ground and try to hold that there, pressing the knees down. A little action in the glutes, outer thighs. And then as you take another breath in, start to bat the knees again. Cycle your breath. Breathing in. Exhale and press the knees down. One more time as you take your next breath in, start to bat the knees, flutter the knees. One more breath in. And on the exhale, press the knees down. Release and come on over into, come into a Z shape with the legs. So let's start with the right shin in front and the left shin drawing back. And the hands can be behind you to start or maybe out to the side. And we're just gonna wiggle into those sits bones to try to get comfortable into this rotation. If you're not quite there yet, you might start even a step before that with both feet in front of you and just kind of windshield wipering the knees side to side. You're still gonna be in that Z shape, but just a little less intense, and you'll get to lean back also. If you do feel comfortable to sit here, then we're just gonna hold and breathe here for a moment. Nice deep breath, slowing it down, letting that left hip meet the mat. And let's switch, bring the left shin in front, or continue to windshield wiper, right? You can keep the movement going. One side might feel different than the other also, so just notice where you're at. Finger pads anchored in the mat and lifting up through the spine. I like to close my eyes here, or you might steady your gaze down and really direct your attention into whatever sensation is showing up here. Breathing deep into your belly. There's so many connections here between the low belly and the hips and the low back. Let's bring both feet around and come into tabletop. Find your alignment, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Hide the feet behind your thighs. And we'll move the spine in a few variations of cow and cat. So we'll start with that traditional movement of lowering the belly down and looking forward. That's our cow. And then exhale, we'll round the spine, drawing up, chin draws under. Inhale, cow, draw your heart forward, let the belly drop, relax. Exhale, a little engagement as you lift up, press away from the mat. Breathe in and lower. Breathe out and round. 2 more here. You could continue with this traditional cow-cat, or if you'd like to explore a little more movement through the spine a little differently off those railroad tracks, let's go a little side to side. So bumping your hip to the right, looking over the right, and then coming over to the left, a C-type curve through the spine. Go over to the right again. Over to the left. And then coming through the middle, bring your attention to your belly button. Drop the belly down like you did for cow. Push the belly out to the right like you did in that C curve. Lift the belly towards the spine like you did through cat, and then press out to the left. So we kind of combine these movements, rolling the belly around. Rolling through the waist, the back. Take your time here. We don't need to be at the same pace. Instead, feel into this movement. Breathe and just notice if there's any sticky areas that you want to give a little more attention to. In your next cycle or two, switch directions. If the wrists ever start to feel tender as we're on hands and knees or downward dog or anywhere else, always take that moment. Give yourself a break to circle the wrists or to give them a stretch if they need it. We'll all meet back up at some point, so really honor whatever it is that your body's asking for tonight. We'll do one more roll in this opposite direction. And then coming through a neutral spine, spread the knees a little wider, big toes touch, and shift your hips to your heels for child's pose. Round the head down towards the mat. You can use props here as well. A block under the forehead will give you a little more space. If it feels tense or tight behind the knees, you might place a blanket or a pillow rolled up right behind the knees. Remembering that 3-part breath that we practiced in the beginning, take your next couple of breaths into the low belly, the low back. You might notice a subtle shift, a subtle movement of the sacrum, the tailbone drawing under. Then allow that breath to rise into the ribs like you're a fish, breathing left and right. Remember that second hand position where we wrapped around the ribs. And then walk your fingers a little further forward if you can, and take the next few breaths, allowing that awareness and breath to rise all the way up, stretching the shoulders, expanding in the upper back and chest, stretching the skin of the back entirely. Then on your next inhale, come forward into tabletop. Tuck your toes here and find your way into your first downward facing dog. Take your time.
Lift those hips as high as you can. You might even come onto tippy toes and then pedaling through the heels one at a time. Stretching out the backs of the legs, anchoring into the hands. If the neck is tight, you might shake it yes and no. Or if there's a lot of tension in the mind, if you feel a lot of excess energy or emotion, take a few big breaths here, even fluttering the lips or letting out some sound. Start to make your way to the front of the mat, coming into a forward fold. When you get to the front of your mat, you can hold on to opposite elbows to ragdoll, or for more support, place your hands on blocks. You can have a generous bend in your knees or wherever it feels comfortable to bend the knees. And let the head go, let the arms go, let the spine go. You might rock a little forward, backwards, or side to side. And invite a little more space into this beautiful long line of the back body. From the bottoms of the feet through the calves, behind the knees and thighs and across the glutes and back and neck, all the way around the head, letting the forehead, the face release with gravity here. If you're holding onto the elbows, release them. We're going to bend the knees, bring the elbows to the thighs, and look forward. So you're sitting kind of in a chair pose or a squat. We're just going to let that blood kind of rebalance here for a moment, build into the strength of the legs. And then on your next inhale, use those strong legs and rise all the way up. Exhale, hands come down by your side, Tadasana. Balance the weight between heels and toes. Stand up nice and tall with the shoulders down and back. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead and interlace the fingers at the top. Take a side bend over to the right, standing half moon. We're gonna flow with our breath. Inhale, come up through center. Exhale to the left. Inhale up through center. Exhale, swan dive, fold all the way down. Halfway lift, breathe in, hands to shins or thighs. Exhale, hands to the mat. Step your right foot back, lower the knee. Inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Low crescent lunge. Press that left shin forward, lower those hips down if you can. Release the arms through a cactus shape. Slowly, slowly, like the shoulder blades are just gliding down the back, until the arms come all the way down by your sides, and then interlace the hands behind the back. Hold here for a moment, anchoring into the foundation of your legs. And as you breathe, inviting a spaciousness in the chest. Release the bind of your hands. Press into that front foot so that your hips shift back, half splits. That front leg might be straight, it might keep a little bend, see where you land. And take a few breaths here to fold deeply over the shin. Blocks can be helpful here. Let the chin bow. Release from this stretch just a little bit, lifting up the head. And now we'll take the right hand to the outside of the left foot and fold towards the outside of the shin, outside of the thigh. Breathe into it and through it, especially if there's a lot of sensation here. We don't want to move into tension and fighting in the body. So if you feel you've reached that point, back up a little bit. Take a moment to reset. Maybe you take a big breath. And then gently ease back into that. Find that edge where you can balance the effort with a sense of ease. You can be in it without reacting. Start to release from that. Come back around facing the front edge of your mat. Walk forward into your lunge pose and tuck the back toe. Take a step back into your downward facing dog. A little more movement here as you pedal the feet. We're gonna flow with our breath through down dog and plank. As you inhale, come high to the toes, come forward to plank. Exhale, lift the hips, downward facing dog, press the thigh or the chest back to thighs. Inhale, high to the toes, roll forward. Exhale, lift hips, down dog. One more time, inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. Inhale your right leg to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose, step through between the hands and lower the left knee down to the mat. Inhale, rise up with the arms, low crescent lunge. Settle down through the hips. Keep lifting up through the arms. Same as we did on the other side. Slide those shoulder blades down your back, opening up in a cactus shape, slowly, slowly. As you do this, you want to keep your heart lifted. Sometimes the tendency can be for all of the weight of the body to like dump here into the low back. And we really don't want to do that. We want to keep that lift up through the heart. Just let those arms slide down. And when they do come by the hips, interlace fingers behind the back. Consider putting the opposite thumb on top. Probably feels a little funky. Find that grasp of the hands. Hips are square. We're breathing here. Maybe those upper arms hug a little closer together. If you feel really open here, you might even lift your head. You might find a deeper back bend by hips sinking down, leaning into that. But don't go too far, find your edge. Release the hands, half splits, press the hips back, straightening through the front leg. Move with your breath, and exhale invites you to fold down. We pause here. Softening the jaw, scan through your whole body. I've really been loving this word integrity and the meanings, different meanings of integrity. I often think about this word when it comes to the spine, having this sort of structure, strength right through the core. A sort of alignment that stands you up tall and confidently. But there's this other side or this other meaning to integrity, which is simply wholeness. It's being whole. And so in each of these postures, in each of these moments, we have an opportunity to be whole, to practice with integrity, to breathe in a way that is for our whole body, to become aware of the whole body, the mind, the emotions behind it, just allowing yourself to be here completely. We'll ease out of this middle stretch just a little bit to cross the left hand over the right foot and refold towards the outside of the shin. Again, blocks can be helpful here. Find your edge, do your best, and use your breath. Release from this pose. Come back towards the center of your mat. Walk the hands forward, tuck the back toe, step back to downward facing dog. Take a little pedal through the heels. Gaze back towards your shins. On an inhale, come high to the toes, roll forward to plank. Exhale here, holding plank. Option, this is just an option. You could hold your plank if you'd like instead. As you inhale, flip onto the tops of your feet, up dog, hips lower, chest comes forward. Exhale, downward facing dog, we'll all meet there. We'll do that again, inhale, plank. Exhale here, flip over the toes, inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. One more time, you could just come through plank, so find what works. Inhale, plank. Hold for the exhale. Inhale, hips lower, glutes are strong, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, left leg lifts to the sky. Step through between your hands. Right foot steps forward, fold at the front of your mat, let the head go. Sit down and back, elbows come to the thighs, chair pose. Invitation to bring in the arms this time, extending them past the ears. Use the strength of the legs, rise all the way up. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Interlace fingers at the top, side bend to the right, exhale. Inhale, center, exhale, other way. Inhale, middle, exhale, swan dive. Halfway lift, breathe in. Exhale, hands to the mat. Step your left foot back this time, keeping the knee lifted. Inhale, high crescent lunge. If the lower back feels tweaked at all, bend that left knee. Allow that tailbone to draw down a little bit here. And here we're going to move with our breath. As you inhale, imagine you're grabbing a hold of a bar above your head. Exhale, draw that bar behind your head. Tap the left knee towards the ground. Inhale, press up. Exhale, draw it down, lower the back knee. It doesn't have to touch the ground, but just moving in that direction. Inhale up. Exhale, draw it down. Inhale, reach the arms up, let go of that bar, and open up into warrior two. Pivot your back heel down, and bend the right knee over the middle toes. Find yourself coming into center. Physically, head, heart, hips. Energetically, as you take your next breath right into your center. Peaceful warrior, flip your front palm, send it up and back. We're gonna come right into a balancing pose, half moon pose. So as you reach forward, you'll start to hop that left foot in and bring your right hand to about 1 o'clock of your toes. Right? If you're looking down at a clock, that right hand will be at about 1 or 2 o'clock. And if you have blocks, bring them in, help bring that ground to you. We're looking to open the hips, stack the hips. I'll give you a few options here. The transition in itself, right, from warrior two to half moon, that in itself can be a bit challenging, so maybe you practice that a few times. Or if you've kind of landed that part of it, then you might consider lifting your left arm. Or to really challenge your balance, you might take your gaze out to the side, or even up towards your top thumb. Stay active in your left leg. You've got it. Stick with it through the shaking, through the wobbling. We're not fighting it, but we're just like, we're really with it, right? We can feel it. We're gonna come back to our warrior two. So look down, bend the knee, step all the way back. Peaceful triangle. Straighten the front leg. Reach up and back. And we'll find our way into triangle pose from here. If you need to cycle your breath a few times in that,
All of that is fine. Guided by your own pace. For our triangle, we reach out through the right fingers and roll or tip down with a long bottom waist. Again, blocks can be helpful here. If the ground feels really far away, slide a block under your hand. Or if you don't have a block, just let the hand rest a little higher on the shin, even up on the thigh. We're gonna find a little movement here. Gaze down at your bottom hand and reach down just an inch or two. And then look up and reach up an inch or two. Look down, reach down an inch or two. Up an inch or two. Down an inch or two. Now we're gonna lift all the way back up. Lift up, arms straight, legs straight. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Take a step back to downward dog. Breathe it out. Inhale, come forward to plank. Hold it here, exhale. Option for up dog, flip over the feet, lift your heart, lower your hips. Exhale, we all meet in down dog. Lower your knees to the mat, come into child's pose. Option for the arms to come alongside your body. Curling into this little ball. A moment to check in and reset. Before we move to the other side of our warrior pose and balance pose, make sure that the way that you're moving and breathing is in alignment with your intention today. Or have you shifted into a competitiveness or a judgment or forcefulness or anything that may not be serving you? Remind yourself why you're here. Move from that place of intention. Let's take the arms back out overhead. And that goes back to that integrity, right? Like as a whole, moving, breathing, being connected in mind, body, spirit. That whole self is here. We'll find our way into downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg to the sky. Step through between the hands. High crescent lunge. Find your footing. Rise on up. Little micro bend in that back knee. And then 3 times with the breath, grab a hold of the bar overhead. Inhale, exhale, lower the back knee. Hands draw behind the head. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, drop down. One more time. Inhale, rise up, and then open up, warrior 2. Center yourself physically and with your breath. Next breath is for peace. Inhale, send it up and back. Into our half moon pose, balancing pose. Gaze forward. This time you're looking at about 11 o'clock. Make that transition maybe a couple of times. And then feel as if you're aligning your hips one over top of the other. This is a really great pose to practice against a wall. It gives you really good awareness of your body in space. Maybe that top arm opens. And then you can play with your gaze. Down at the ground is going to give you more balance. Out to the side might start to challenge that more. Up towards the thumb, even more. Stay active in your right leg and breathe. You're doing great. Take your gaze down to the mat. Bend your standing leg. Step back into your warrior 2 legs and then straighten the front knee. Peaceful triangle. And then we'll make our transition into triangle pose. Nice and slow transition. Left arm drops down, right arm reaches up. Playing with the geometry of the body. Gazing down, can you inch those left fingers down? Gazing up, inch those right fingers up. Down a couple inches, up a couple inches. Seriously, just a couple inches. It's a small movement. And then on this last one, we'll reach all the way up. Open the arms, straight legs. On an exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the mat. We're gonna change it up here. So we're gonna walk around to the long edge of your mat. Wide leg stance, wide leg fold. The toes point towards the long edge of your mat. Fold right down the middle, let the head go. Let it all go. Bring attention into the back side of your legs. Staying grounded in the heels, lift up through the hips, through the backs of the thighs. The quads even engage a little bit here. And then allow the torso to let go. The torso is doing nothing here except letting go. It is the action of the legs that's going to help you fold here. Start to press up onto your hands, heel toe your feet till they're about the distance of your mat, like the width of your mat away for Malasana. So the toes will point out, the heels will draw in, and we'll lower into this yogi squat. Hips drop right between the heels. Bring your hands together towards the heart. If the heels are really lifted, this is a great place to bring a blanket under your heels, or if you don't have a blanket, you could also like roll up the mat. Sometimes that works. And if you are on your toes, it's not that big a deal, right? Eventually, as we practice this more and more, our ankles open, our knees and hips open a little more. You also don't need to be so low. It can be a little higher too. For more support, you might sit on a block. We're just gonna hold here for a moment. We're gonna take 5 deep breaths, 5 more deep breaths. You might close your eyes, soften your chin. Let that chin relax, the jaw relax. Bring your hands to the mat. I didn't really have an intention to do an arm balance today, but I just kind of think it might be nice to do a little prep for crow pose, just to feel some of that strength in the arms. So just keep in mind there's no expectation to float the feet off the mat, but we're gonna set it up. So hands come down in front of you. Spread those hands nice and wide. Grip the fingertips. In this posture, we wanna really grip those fingertips. Imagine what happens like when you're standing up and you lean forward. Your toes grip, right? That's your balance, they grip. You can even kind of do that from a squat. Our hands are gonna be doing the same thing here because we're gonna switch the weight from the feet to the hands. So just keep that in mind. And then lift up your hips and walk your toes a little closer together. Now bring your knees to the upper outer arms and squeeze your upper arms. As you squeeze there, you'll feel the lower abdomen engaging, your whole core starting to engage. Gaze forward. This part's really important. Gaze forward. That's gonna help you balance. It's gonna help you from tumbling over. Now we're just gonna lean into the hands. Feel those fingers grip. Come up onto the tippy toes. Lean in. Now, if you've got a strong crow and you want to go for it, of course, feel free to lift up your feet.
fly away. Otherwise, just come in and out of that prep pose. Shifting weight from feet into hands. From feet back into hands. Good job, guys. Let's do that for a couple more breaths, a couple more cycles. And then we're gonna come back down. And we're gonna lower all the way down. Feet come to the mat. Sit up nice and tall, hands right in front of the knees. Now curl your tailbone under just a little bit, leaning back. Kind of like that cow shape, we're leaning back, rounding the spine. And we're just gonna lift the heart up, almost like cow pose. Lift up, open the chest. Let's bring in the breath. As you exhale, roll back over the tailbone, round the spine, tuck the chin. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, lift up. From this lifted position, send your legs forward. Lift up your arms overhead. Take another deep breath in at the top, and then exhale, fold forward towards the feet, or if you hold onto the ankles or shins, wherever you land is great. The knees can be soft. Simply bow the head. And we'll slow it down here for about 7 to 10 breaths. You can really be active or passive in this pose. You know, if you really want to be like deep, deep stretching, you might take a few breaths, hinge from the hips, really reach forward, keep those legs straight and firm, right? That would be pretty active. But you can also be more restorative and softer here by bending the knees, even bringing something on top of the knees, and then just rounding over top of your legs. You might let the hands turn up. You don't even have to hold on to anything. Scan through your body. What do you notice? Where can you find a deep appreciation? Keep slowing it down. Let's take 3 more breaths. Letting the exhale be nice and long and slow. You might keep your eyes soft or closed, bringing the hands to the mat to press yourself up. And we're going to come into a deeper hip stretch here, a variation of pigeon. It's going to give you the opportunity to come into a traditional pigeon, but we're going to start with that Z shape of the legs again. So it doesn't matter which side you start on. Just bring one shin in front, the other shin crossing back. This front shin could be really tucked in close, or you might bring it a little further out so it kind of aligns with the top edge of your mat. One way is not better than the other. You're just going to see what feels better to you. The first version of pigeon here is to simply fold over the shin. And that's where you're gonna start to feel, does it feel better to bring that heel close into the groin? Does it feel better to press it out? You know, you're gonna find the nuances of what feels right in your body. And again, you could use props here. You might lay on a blanket, you might put a block under your head. Maybe you fall, or maybe you fold all the way down, and that's fine too. So this is the first place to start to explore. The next thing you might start to explore, and if you feel good here, stay, hold the pose, breathe into it, maybe just listen and see if you want to keep exploring. The next thing here might be that opposite leg, the one that turns back. You might open that hip a little more. You might bring that knee a little further back as you fold, right? So that starts to open that hip a little bit more. And then maybe as you start to explore with that back hip turning open, this is where you might end up in a traditional pigeon, which would be sending that back leg long down your mat and continuing to fold over the front shin. You're just really looking for the sensation that feels right for you today. Still slowing it down for the evening. It helps to extend the exhale, to allow the breath out to be a little bit longer than the breath in. You might ask yourself or feel into this question of, where can I let go? Where can I let go of control? These last few minutes of our practice invite of letting go of control. It's sometimes seen as the feminine side of the energy. It's often associated with the dark side of it, the nighttime, the moon, those cooler qualities of slowing down. Wherever you're at, slowly start to make your transition back up. And again, you might move with eyes closed or a soft gaze. And come around through the middle. You maybe just find a cross-legged seat for a breath or two. And just notice the difference here. Notice how the hips feel on the left, on the right. And then as you're ready, make your transition into the other side. Listen to your body and go to where it needs to go today. You might land in one position. Take a few breaths there to feel it out. And you'll know if the body needs something else. You'll know if it's asking to explore a little differently. You'll also know if you've gone too far, right? If you find that point where you're like, oh, nope, back up. We're always getting these messages. It's just a matter of listening and becoming quiet enough to listen. Drop into your own space. continue to drop in, checking in, letting go. Just being in the space that's here for you now. You also might find that you need to exit the pose sooner than is cued, and that is perfectly fine too. Back up at any point that you need. The most important part of this practice is the awareness of your breath, and if all you did today was breathe, and that would be enough. You can take a couple more breaths wherever you're at. And then slowly starting to make your transition out. And we'll come into a final resting pose now. So that might be Shavasana, lying all the way down on your back. It might be lying on one side or the other with a bolster or a blanket between your knees. There's some posture that's relatively neutral where you can rest. Taking a few deep breaths for yourself. Letting go of all technique. Letting go of all control. Resting here in a way that simply allows the innate intelligence of your body, of your being, to move easily and freely through your mind, body, and energy. Notice the mind still wanting to hold control of running the thoughts. Just notice this. Notice that it's happening. Notice what's there. With the invitation then to take a nice deep conscious breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Dropping the mind down into the body. Giving the mind a place to rest. Dropping your awareness deeper down into the body. Evening and would like to stay here longer,
always take that time for yourself. If or when you are ready to move off your mat, just before doing so, I want to invite you to repeat with me this simple mantra, this simple little motto: I surrender. Whatever that means for you today, you don't even need to know consciously. 3 times here together. Let's begin. Breathing in. Hands out. I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. When you're ready, making your way back to a cross-legged seat. And we'll close our practice bringing hands to the heart, a humble and respectful bow through the chin. A final moment for your gratitude. I always like to remind you to thank yourself for showing up, thank your body for all that it is able to do and how it moves you and supports you. Thanking one another for being here, for the support that they provide, for contributing to the energy of the practice, and extending your gratitude in any other direction that you wish. The light in me acknowledges, loves, and bows to the light within you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Taj. Thank you, Catherine. Take your time moving off the mat. Let yourself be in quiet if that's what you feel that you need. And I always love having you guys here, so thank you, thank you, thank you.